Good morning. It's G Butterfly, and I'm coming to you live from the parking lot. And yes, we've made it to Thursday. We're almost to the weekend, y'all. Well, everybody has been chiming in on this little video that was shown on, well, I saw it on Instagram, and I think it was on Atlanta Uncensored. I think that was the Instagram page that I saw it on, where it was about a couple that was in the park after hours, and the police officer pulled up and kindly told them, you're not supposed to be in the park after 11. You're going to have to leave. And he did acknowledge that they had an out-of-state license plate. And he said, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you can't be in the park. Now, he asked them, and they said, okay. The gentleman said, okay, cool. They were going to leave. He said, do you have your ID? I'm not a police officer, but I guess I can assume that that's protocol, that when you stop someone, you ask them for the ID. Or when you encounter someone that may be in the midst of doing something they're not supposed to be doing, which they were in the park after hours. So he asked for the ID. They gave him the ID. He told the young man, okay, here's your ID back. I'm going to have you sign this ticket. And so the gentleman was real calm about it. He didn't get irate. He wasn't all worked up. You could see in his face that he was just asking a question. He said, okay, do I have to sign? The police officer said, you do not have to sign, but if you do not, I'm going to take you to jail. So the dude looked at it. He went ahead and signed. No problems. And he walked back. So he asked the young lady, let me have your ID. And so she just looked. And then she gave the officer her ID. And he gave her they both gave ID at the same time. So he told the young lady, I have your ticket for you. I'm going to need you to go ahead and sign your ticket. And she was like, what? And then she just stormed off to the car. And she had her cell phone clicking. Tap, 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 tap. What is your name? He said, Officer Brooks. Tap, tap, tap. What's your number? He said 7452. She started tapping in the phone. Now, I would assume that she was typing his information in or texting it to someone so that they'll be aware of what's happening. That doesn't sound uncommon to me or unusual. She asked him again, what is your name? He said, Officer Brooks. Again, she asked about his number, badge number. He gave him the badge number. Now, she said, do I have to sign that? He said, no, but you're going to go to jail. She was like, gotcha. He said, so are you not going to sign? No. She had an attitude, just acting real stink. And the officer, in my opinion, was not raising his voice. He wasn't being aggressive. He was just telling them what the situation was. You're in the park after hours. I'm giving you a ticket. If you don't sign your ticket, you're going to have to be taken into jail. She got all fly, popping off at the mouth. Well, he said, ma'am, are you going to sign the ticket? Mm-mm. He said, okay, put your hands behind your back. Her whole demeanor changed. If anybody saw her face, she looked like she was immediately ready to cry. He said, ma'am, put your hands behind your back. Now, he continually told the lady to put her hands behind her back, that she was being arrested because she was refusing to sign the ticket. And per what somebody said in the comments, that's the law in Georgia. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the Georgia law, but they said that in Georgia, if you signing the ticket is not an admission of guilt. It's just signing saying that you understand that you have to appear before court. Now, it appeared that he was following protocol. And he told her, ma'am, I told you that if you didn't sign the ticket, I was going to have to take you into jail. And she kept not following his command when he said, please put your hands behind your back. And he said, ma'am, I'm going to have to forcefully take you in. He told her what he was doing the entire time. She realized, I'm going to jail. And then she want to start with all the crying and all the waterworks. And the guy was standing to the side. Now, if you noticed, her boyfriend stood over to the side and he did not do anything except he was up close because he was there initially. And when he started talking, say, man, you don't have to treat her like that. Just let her. He said, hey, my man, I'm gonna need you to back up. And that was for the police officer's safety because he was there by himself. He didn't know what the guy could do or the lady could do, and it was him by himself. Although he had a gun, it would have been 2 against 1. So he said, my man, I'm gonna need you to back up. He told him that a couple of times, and it appeared that the young man backed up and he started videotaping. And he kept saying, you don't have to do her like that. You don't have to treat her like that. And he kept telling the lady. He pretty much stopped addressing the gentleman and was solely talking to the woman. Ma'am, put your hands behind your back. So now she's on the ground screaming and hollering as if he is beating her. I want to sign the ticket. I want to sign the ticket. He said, no. I gave you an opportunity to sign the ticket. I asked you twice. You said no. I'm going to have to take you into jail. So now she's screaming, I don't understand why I'm going to jail. I'm looking at this like, why don't you understand why you're being arrested when he has told you multiple times why you're being arrested? She kept saying, but you're not telling me. That's why I'm not putting my hands behind my back. At that point, this young lady was fully aware of why she was being arrested. I think it was a lot of dramatics with this particular video that I saw. And I was reading some of the comments, and everybody was like, he could just let them go. He can let them go. Well, if this police officer was doing his job, why does everybody just assume he should let them go? He gave them the opportunity to go when he initially told them, here's your ticket. If you do not sign the ticket, I'm going to have to arrest you. That was their opportunity for him to let them go. So I couldn't understand why was everybody so against the police officer. I watched the entire video, and I was in the mindset of, he gave this young lady an opportunity. She chose to not sign the ticket knowing what the consequences were. And the consequences were, your black ass is going to jail. That's the consequence. But she still chose to just cry and whine, cry and whine. And the guy kept saying, you don't have to treat her like that. You don't have to do that to her. In my opinion, just looking at the video, it didn't appear that the officer was being very rough with her. It just appeared that he was trying to get her hand behind her back, because he kept asking her, ma'am, please put your hand behind your back. She was on the ground, sprawled all out. And I was like, why do people not want this police officer to do his job? I could not understand that. So he called for backup, and she was just screaming and screaming and screaming. Then she started calling him Mr. Brooks. At first, she was giving attitude, but when she noticed she was going to jail, everything was Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks, I want to sign. I want to sign. I want to sign. He was like, no, ma'am, I'm sorry. Your opportunity to sign has passed, and I'm going to have to take you into jail. He never really raised his voice based on what I saw in the video, and it didn't appear that he was being overly aggressive with her. It just appeared that he was trying to get her to put her hands behind her back. Now, I've never been arrested, thank God. Let's pray that that never happens in my lifetime. And I'm not a police officer, but just based on what I saw in the video, excuse me, she was overly dramatic and just screaming and screaming. But if you notice, sometimes she could just stop and then pick up the screaming again. I'm like, what in the world? But I did notice when they got her in the car, she immediately stopped crying. Can I have my phone? I'm like, man, she was able to cut it on and off. So were all the dramatics real? Or was it because this is being videotaped? I may be able to use this videotape footage later to leverage some type of settlement or something if this goes in my favor. So I would like to know, what do you think out there who saw the video? Do you think that the police officer was wrong for arresting her? Do you feel like the police officer was being overly aggressive with her? There were people in the video saying that the boyfriend wasn't doing anything to help her. Well, the boyfriend was smart, and he stood to the side like he was asked, because had he approached the police officer could have potentially shot him. So do you think the boyfriend was wrong for not doing something more? Do you think the lady should have just went ahead and signed the ticket and gone on back to whatever state she came from? Now, other people were saying that she probably was crying and screaming because she knew possibly she wasn't supposed to be in that park that late at night, out of state with that particular man. So there's a lot of variables to the whys. But my main question is, do you think the police officer was wrong? And if you hadn't seen the video, it's out there on Instagram. I want to say I saw it on Atlanta Uncensored. Drop down in my comments and let me know what you think. If you're new to my YouTube channel, welcome. If you've been here before, get in the comments. Let's see what you think about this particular video that's on Instagram. And also, if you see me on TikTok, hey, TikTokers. All right, well, this is G Butterfly, and I'm coming to you live from the parking lot. I'll talk to y'all later.